Have you ever wondered how religion has evolved over time? Let's start our journey in the 11th century, a time of fervor and division. This era was marked by the Crusades, a series of religious wars initiated by the Latin Church. The objective? To recover the Holy Land from Islamic rule. These wars were fueled by a potent mix of faith, politics, and a desire for power and wealth. The Crusaders, armed with a papal blessing, embarked on a mission that spanned 2 centuries, profoundly shaping the course of history. However, the outcomes were a mixed bag. While some crusades resulted in temporary victories, such as the recapture of Jerusalem in the First Crusade, others ended in dismal failures, often leading to the loss of thousands of lives. But the Crusades weren't the only significant religious event of this era. The 11th century also witnessed the Great Schism of 1054, a major rift that officially divided Western Christianity and Eastern Orthodoxy. This split was the result of long-standing political, cultural, and theological differences that had been simmering for centuries. The catalyst, however, was a disagreement over the authority of the Pope and the nature of the Holy Spirit. The impact of the Great Schism was far-reaching. It not only created a deep and enduring division within Christianity, but it also set the stage for future religious conflicts, including the Crusades. This schism is still evident today, with the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox churches remaining distinct entities. As we can see, these centuries were marked by religious conflict and division, setting the stage for further developments. The Crusades and the Great Schism were instrumental in shaping the religious landscape of the time, their effects echoing through the centuries and continuing to influence the course of religious history to this day. Moving into the 13th century, we witness a unifying force, the Mongol Empire. This colossal entity, stretched across both Asia and Europe, played a pivotal role in the exchange of not just goods, but also ideas and beliefs. The Mongols were known for their tolerance of different cultures and religions, an attitude that fostered multiculturalism and religious diversity within their empire. The Mongol invasion of Persia, for instance, brought them into contact with the mystical branch of Islam known as Sufism. Sufism, with its emphasis on personal experience and asceticism, was different from the more orthodox forms of Islam. The Mongols, in their typical fashion, embraced these differences, allowing Sufism to flourish under their rule. Meanwhile, far to the west, in the heart of Europe, another form of mysticism was taking root: Kabbalah. This Jewish mystical tradition, with its intricate symbolism and esoteric teachings, offered a new perspective on the divine. The Kabbalists believed in a complex, multi-layered reality, where every word, every letter of the Torah held a secret meaning. Similar to the Mongols' acceptance of Sufism, they also showed tolerance towards Kabbalah. This acceptance allowed for the exchange of ideas between Sufis and Kabbalists, leading to a unique form of religious syncretism. It was a time when barriers between different faiths seemed to blur, creating a vibrant, spiritual melting pot. But it wasn't just mystical beliefs that were exchanged during this period. The Mongol Empire also facilitated the spread of Buddhism, Christianity, and even Manichaeism, an ancient dualistic religion. This intermingling of faiths and philosophies under the Mongol rule led to a period of religious syncretism, where elements from different religious traditions fused together. So, as we traverse the timeline of religious history, we find that the 13th and 14th centuries were a remarkable period of religious interplay and fusion. The Mongol Empire, with its vast expanse and open-mindedness, served as a crucible for this fascinating mix of spiritual ideas. These centuries saw the blending of religious ideas, showing us the power of cultural exchange. The 15th century brought a seismic shift in religious thought with the Protestant Reformation. This era was marked by intense religious upheaval and transformation, sparked by individuals like Martin Luther, a German monk and theologian. Luther, troubled by what he perceived as corruption and doctrinal errors in the Catholic Church, nailed his 95 Theses to the door of the Wittenberg Castle Church in 1517. This act, though simple in its execution, had profound repercussions. Luther's primary concern was the Church's practice of selling indulgences, essentially pardons for sins. He argued that salvation was a gift from God, received through faith, and could not be bought or sold. This bold stance, along with his translation of the Bible into German, challenged the Catholic Church's authority and paved the way for the Protestant Reformation. Around the same time, other reformers like John Calvin in Switzerland and Huldrych Zwingli in Zurich also emerged, each with their own theological perspectives. They emphasized the sovereignty of Scripture and the priesthood of all believers, further challenging the Church's established hierarchy. In response to these challenges, the Catholic Church initiated the Counter-Reformation or the Catholic Revival. This was a period of substantial reform within the Church itself, aiming to address the issues raised by the Protestants and to solidify its practices. The Council of Trent, which took place between 1545 and 1563, played a crucial role in this process. It clarified Catholic doctrine, cracked down on corruption, and established seminaries to ensure priests were properly educated. The Protestant Reformation and the Counter-Reformation had far-reaching impacts. They led to significant religious fragmentation in Europe, resulting in a multitude of Protestant sects and a more unified but reduced Catholic Church. They also triggered religious wars, changes in political structures, and shifts in social norms. Thus, these centuries were a time of religious fragmentation and reform, reshaping the religious landscape of Europe. As we move into the 17th century, we enter the era of Enlightenment, a period marked by an emphasis on reason, science, and intellectual interchange. This era was a dramatic shift from the traditional religious thought that had dominated the Middle Ages. During the Enlightenment, the idea of religious tolerance began to take root. Influential philosophers like John Locke argued that faith must be a personal choice, not a mandate. This was a radical departure from the era of religious wars and persecutions that had plagued Europe for centuries. This period also saw the rise of deism, a belief system that posited a creator who, after establishing natural laws, stepped back and allowed the universe to run its course. Deism rejected the idea of divine intervention and miracles, instead promoting a universe governed by reason and natural law. This era was also marked by the separation of church and state. The Enlightenment thinkers believed that religious institutions should not have political power, and this idea was incorporated into many emerging democratic constitutions, most notably in the United States with the First Amendment. This was a revolutionary concept, challenging the centuries-old model of theocracy and state churches. The Enlightenment's emphasis on science and reason also had a profound impact on religious thought. It led many to question the literal interpretations of sacred texts and instead seek allegorical or metaphorical interpretations. This shift paved the way for a more critical and analytical approach to religious texts and doctrines. However, the Enlightenment did not eradicate religious belief. Instead, it transformed it. Many people continued to embrace faith, but with a new focus on personal spirituality and morality rather than institutional dogma. This shift in religious thought laid the foundation for many modern religious movements, including Unitarianism and Universalism. The Enlightenment era challenged traditional religious thought, paving the way for modern religious movements. It was a time of profound change where the focus shifted from unquestioning faith to critical thinking, from divine intervention to natural law, and from religious mandate to personal choice. This period of religious evolution reflects the human quest for understanding and meaning in an ever-changing world. The 19th century brought a wave of new religious movements. These movements emerged against a backdrop of social change and a growing desire for spiritual renewal. Among these, Mormonism, the Bahá'í Faith, and Christian Science were some of the most influential. Let's start with Mormonism, also known as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Founded by Joseph Smith in the United States in the 1830s, Mormonism claimed to restore original Christianity and quickly grew, despite facing significant persecution. Central to its beliefs is the Book of Mormon, said to be translated by Smith from golden plates revealed to him by an angel. Across the globe in Persia, the Bahá'í Faith emerged in the mid-19th century. Founded by Baha'u'llah, it emphasized the spiritual unity of all humankind and recognized the validity of all major world religions. With its core teachings of unity, peace, and justice, the Bahá'í Faith attracted followers globally and continues to do so today. Back in the United States, the Christian Science movement was taking root. Founded by Mary Baker Eddy in the 1870s, Christian Science proposed a radical reinterpretation of Christianity, emphasizing healing through prayer and the notion of a purely spiritual reality. Despite controversy, it gained popularity, leading to the establishment of the international newspaper, the Christian Science Monitor. The 19th century was also a period of intense missionary activity. Christian missionaries from Europe and North America traveled to Asia, Africa, and the Pacific, driven by a desire to spread their faith. This led to significant religious and cultural exchanges, but also to tensions and conflicts. In essence, the 19th century was a time of religious innovation and expansion. From the Mormon plains of Utah to the Bahá'í gardens of Haifa, from the Christian Science reading rooms of Boston to the mission stations of Africa and Asia, new spiritual paths were being forged. These centuries saw the birth of new religious movements reflecting the continually evolving nature of spiritual belief. As we enter the 20th century, we see the effects of globalization on religious thought. This era, marked by intense interconnectedness, saw religious beliefs and practices cross borders like never before. This free exchange of ideas led to an increased dialogue between different faiths, fostering mutual understanding and respect. The century was also witness to the rise of secularism, a movement advocating for the separation of religious institutions from state affairs. As societies became more diverse and pluralistic, the call for secular governance grew louder, emphasizing the need for state neutrality in matters of faith. Alongside secularism, the 20th century saw the emergence of New Age movements, influenced by Eastern spiritual practices and philosophies. These movements embraced a more holistic and individualistic approach to spirituality. They valued personal growth and self-improvement, often incorporating elements from various faith traditions. Globalization also had profound effects on traditional religious practice. As people migrated and cultures blended, religious rituals and beliefs evolved. This led to the fusion of traditions, creating unique spiritual practices that reflected the diversity of our global society. Interfaith dialogue flourished during this period, with religious leaders and scholars from different faiths coming together to promote understanding and harmony. These dialogues helped to break down barriers, dispel misconceptions, and foster a sense of unity among followers of different religions. But this era wasn't without its challenges. The increased visibility of diverse faiths sometimes led to conflict and tension. However, through dialogue and mutual respect, many communities found ways to coexist peacefully, embracing the richness of our shared human experience. The 20th century was also a time of introspection for many religious institutions. They reassessed their doctrines and practices in light of modern values and scientific advancements, leading to significant reforms within these organizations. The 20th century was a time of religious diversification and dialogue, shaped by the forces of globalization. It was an era that bore witness to the resilience of faith in the face of change, and the enduring quest for spiritual understanding in an increasingly interconnected world. In the 21st century, we find ourselves in the digital age, a time of rapid change and diversification. As we step into this era, the world shrinks before our eyes, becoming a global village interconnected through the internet. This digital revolution has drastically altered the landscape of religious and spiritual beliefs, enabling a rapid spread and diversification like never before. With the advent of social media platforms, religious ideas are disseminated far and wide, crossing geographical boundaries with a simple click. The digital age has empowered individuals to explore, question, and form their own spiritual beliefs, leading to an unprecedented rise in non-traditional, personalized spiritual practices. Yet this digital revolution is a double-edged sword. While it fosters dialogue, it also facilitates the propagation of extreme views, leading to new challenges in managing religious discourse. This era is also marked by religion's increasing engagement with global issues. Religions worldwide are grappling with pressing concerns, from climate change to human rights, navigating the intersection of faith, ethics, and science. The Catholic Church, for instance, has taken significant steps towards ecological responsibility, reflecting a growing trend of environmental ethics within religious doctrines. Similarly, various faiths are addressing the urgent need for inter-religious harmony and the resolution of faith-based conflicts. Furthermore, the digital age has seen a fascinating confluence of science and spirituality. As we unravel the mysteries of the universe, questions of existence and the divine become even more pertinent. The dialogue between science and religion has intensified, leading to intriguing explorations of spirituality in a scientific context. Amidst this whirlwind of change, one thing remains constant: the human quest for understanding and meaning. Religion, in its many diverse forms, continues to offer a framework to navigate the complexities of our world, providing solace, guidance, and community. As we look to the future, we see that religion continues to evolve, reflecting our quest for understanding and meaning in an ever-changing world.